Everyone talked about the wedding, the music, the gown, the cake, and the vows. But no one ever talked about what came after. That quiet hour, when the music fades, the guests leave, and the bride is left alone in a room filled with flickering candles, waiting, not for applause, but for something far more personal, more intimate, and, for many, more terrifying. Rosie Atwood had never been the type to panic. She was calm, clever, a little stubborn, and certainly not one for fairy tales. Yet here she was, in the grand bridal suite of the Primrose Estate, sitting on a velvet stool with her heart pounding against her ribs like a drum. Her long ivory gown spilled across the floor like soft clouds, and her veil hung off the back of her head like a forgotten promise. The door was closed. The room was silent. And her thoughts were anything but. She'd been married for exactly 4 hours and 23 minutes. And in that time, she'd smiled, danced, laughed, and wondered, repeatedly, what happens now? She wasn't scared of love, not exactly. But she was curious, nervous, excited in a way she didn't know how to name. She had known Edward since they were 12. He was her neighbor's cousin who only visited during summer holidays. Back then, he was lanky and awkward, with shaggy hair and a face full of freckles. But time had done him favors. By university, he was broad-shouldered, bookish, with a voice that could read a dictionary and make it sound romantic. Their courtship had been slow, sweet. He'd taken her to art galleries, wrote notes in the margins of her novels, and once built her a bookshelf as a birthday gift. He was everything she didn't know she needed. A gentle storm in the quiet routine of her life. And now, he was her husband. But the wedding night still loomed before her like a mystery wrapped in lace. No one had ever truly explained it to her. She'd read things, sure, heard stories, but the idea of being that close, of giving everything to someone, even someone she loved, made her stomach flutter in the most confusing way. The door creaked open. Her heart jumped. Edward stepped in, dressed in a white shirt with the sleeves rolled up, his tie loosened, his hair slightly tousled from the evening. He looked at her with those warm brown eyes that always made her feel like the only person in the room. "Hey," he said softly. "Hi," she replied, her voice almost a whisper. He shut the door gently behind him, then leaned against it, taking her in. "You look like a painting." She let out a nervous laugh. "A nervous painting, maybe." Edward walked slowly toward her. "It's a lot, isn't it?" She nodded. "No one really tells you what to expect." He crouched in front of her, gently taking her hands in his. "You don't have to be afraid. Tonight doesn't have to be anything but us, being together." "I'm not afraid of you," she said quickly. "Just afraid of not knowing how to do this right, of disappointing you." He smiled, the kind of smile that made her remember why she said yes to forever. "Rosie, there's no script for tonight. No checklist. No wrong way. Just you and me. And if all we do is sit and eat leftover cake, I'll still be the happiest man alive." She exhaled, relief rushing through her chest like a wave. "You always say the right things, don't you?" "I try," he grinned. "Though I did forget the rings for about 5 minutes earlier, so I wouldn't say I'm perfect." She laughed, and suddenly the tension cracked, like the pop of a bottle uncorked. He stood and offered his hand. "Dance with me." "There's no music." "Then we'll hum." She placed her hand in his, and he pulled her gently into his arms. They swayed, slowly, quietly, the silence between them speaking volumes. "I love you," he whispered into her hair. "I know," she said. "And I love you too. That's why I want to do this right." He pulled back slightly to look into her eyes. "You already are." Hours passed in a blur of soft conversation, shared stories, gentle kisses, and laughter. At one point, they sat cross-legged on the bed, still in half their wedding attire, eating strawberries from a silver platter and making predictions about their future. "5 years from now, where are we?" she asked. "Still hopelessly in love," he replied. "And?" He tilted his head. "Traveling. Maybe Italy. You painting balconies, me scribbling bad poetry." She smiled. "You'd really write bad poetry for me." "I already have," he said, and pulled a folded piece of paper from his jacket pocket. "Wrote it the night before the wedding." Her eyes widened as he handed it to her. She opened it, fingers trembling. "To my bride, before she's mine. I do not ask for perfect grace, nor vow to win the world or race. I only ask that in your light I learn to love through storm and night. And if you stumble, I'll be near, a steady hand, a listening ear. So take my name, but not my will. Stay as you are, yet love me still." By the time she finished reading, her eyes were glassy. "No one's ever written for me," she said softly. "I'll write for you every day if it makes you smile like that." Later that night, as the candles burned low, Rosie looked at him and whispered, "I'm ready." But what followed wasn't a scene from a novel or a dramatic film. It was quiet, slow, respectful, tender. With every touch, Edward asked permission with his eyes, and Rosie answered with her heart. It wasn't perfect, but it was theirs. And when she woke up in his arms the next morning, sunlight pouring across the sheets, she felt a peace she'd never known. This was love, not the firework kind, but the kind that built its own sky. 1 year later, they celebrated their first anniversary back at the Primrose Estate, this time not in the grand ballroom but under the stars with just a picnic blanket, a bottle of wine, and each other. "I was so nervous this night last year," Rosie admitted, laughing. "You nearly ran into the cupboard by mistake," Edward teased. "And you forgot the rings. Let's call it even." They clinked glasses. "And now?" he asked. She smiled, curling her fingers into his. "Now, I look forward to every first, as long as it's with you." If this story amused you, then please subscribe to our channel for more stories like this.